Oh, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, a channel that brings you your team every single day. Right, I want to make one thing clear from the outset before we even start talking about the present circumstances, the everything. It's 1:15 at night, and I'm sat here making this video. Obviously, it's apologies not doing the live watch along last night. I had my kids to think about. So watched the game once I got home from looking after them, rewatched it. Probably wish I hadn't rewatched it. If I'm being wholly honest, it was a dreadful watch, as most Rangers games are these days. Now, before I talk about essentially what we're going to talk about tonight, I want to just say something. First thing I want to say is that Philippe Clement is not the only problem at Rangers. Okay, there is a club that is rotten from the top to the bottom, from the core spreading right out. It is a complete and utter shambles of a football club. The way this club is being run at the very top is just appalling. The way that recruitment has been handled is appalling. The way that, now I don't just mean recruitment of players, I mean recruitment of chief executive officers, of academy heads, anything is a complete and utter shambles. I mean, witnessed as it, I think the guy's David McCallum, I can't remember what his exact name is, I don't really care. Interim academy director. I mean, the guy shouldn't even be at the club, let alone running the academy. I mean, that's just an absolute shambles. It really genuinely is. And the fact we can't appoint someone to that role when we've got to put an interim in place is just ridiculous. The whole club is an absolute shambles from top to bottom. There is, I don't think, one part of the club that is working effectively. I think there is one part of the club that is fit for purpose, if I'm being honest with you. The board is not fit for purpose. The board are not capable of making decisions. Well, not capable of making competent decisions. The board, you would not trust this board to run your family budget, run your family home, let alone run a football club. The manager is an absolute joke. The team is just heartless, gutless, spineless. All those words. The only player who comes out of last night with any credit is Nicholas Raskin. I thought he was very good last night. I thought he was the one player that didn't stop battling, didn't stop fighting, didn't stop working hard. I thought Raskin, whatever you want to call him, is the one player who comes out of last night with any credit whatsoever. The rest of them were just an absolute shambles. And I think, I read some ratings before making this video, and I think when you've got comments like, that this Rangers player was Aberdeen's best player in the first half. There were comments made about Cyril Dessers, Ross McCausland, and James Tavernier. I think that tells you everything you know about or need to know about those three in today's game. We'll get to team selection in a minute. I want to get to the manager in a minute. But I always want to say that until things change at the very top of this club, nothing is going to change. Nothing really fundamentally is going to be right. But the chances of anything changing at this stage of the season with the board are absolutely slim to non-existent. And people saying, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody, sack the board, get rid of the board. What's the point? We might as well keep Clement on because Clement's not the problem. The board is the problem. Right, okay, so we sack we get rid of the board. Right, so the first thing we do, we get rid of the board, we then go bust because we owe John Bennett over 11 million. We owe Halstead and Wolfhart, or whatever they're called, X million. We owe Wolfhart 0.9 million in historic debt. So unless you're willing to pay out 17, 18, 19 million back in director loans back to these people, then you can't get rid of them because you owe them money. Okay, so they're part of the club. So at this moment in time, nothing can be done about the board because of the fact that such vast sums of money are owed to them. So until somebody comes in with a substantial amount of money to say, right, I want to own this football club, or we want to own this football club, there's your money back. There's the money for the football club, now clear off. There's not a lot we can do about it. Unfortunately, we are still stuck with, and I'm going to call them again, a virus. The parks are a virus because what do viruses do? They eat up, they destroy things, and that's what the parks are doing. They're destroying this football club. They really are an absolute disgrace. Douglas Park and Graham Park are an absolute disgrace. And I would urge any Rangers fan to boycott any park business, to show them exactly what we think of them. Right, let's get to tonight. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think anyone realistically, blue-tinted goggles off, but I'm as guilty as anyone, went into tonight expecting us to do the business. Aberdeen are unbeaten this season. We are a shambles. Our performances lack shape, they lack form, they lack tactics, they lack intensity, they lack any sort of style. The team is just heading backwards. And even the victory over St Mirren at the weekend papered over the cracks to some extent. You know, St Mirren were unlucky not to get a point, I thought, out of that game. They really were. The team is just useless. It is absolutely hopeless. Now, I don't think that is solely down to the lack of talent in the squad. There are players within this squad who are very talented footballers. That is quite obvious. You can see that. You know, they just don't show it because they're not being used right. They're not being motivated. They're not being organised. I don't know what it is. But, you know, Nadim Bayrami is not a shit football player. Nicholas Raskin is not a shit football player. Conor Barron is not a shit football player. Okay, Hiefte is not a shit football player. Leon Balogun is not a shit football player. Jack Butland is not a shit football player. There's enough talent there to win these games. There's enough talent to win. I'm not talking about Europa League games where you're coming up against teams who've got vast budgets and, you know, massive amounts of money. And I think people need to remember that works the other way around. We've got massive budgets compared to everyone else. You know, if you compare us to most of the teams in the Scottish Premiership, our budget is 100 times bigger than what they've got. So, you know, it works both ways. We can use the excuse in Europe as well. You know, Lyon was worth 400 million, or Nice is worth 500 million, or whatever, and we're only worth this X a million. So, you know, at the end of the day, you can't use that excuse for Europe and then obviously kind of say, well, it doesn't count in Scotland, because it clearly does. I mean, Rangers playing squad is worth 80.7. And then we can argue up and down over player values all we want, but on paper, Rangers playing squad is worth 80.75 million euro. Okay, that's the market value, current market value of Rangers playing squad. Okay, Aberdeen's playing squad is worth 15.8 million. Okay, so not even a quarter of what our playing squad is worth. Yet they're outplaying us. Yet they're outperforming us. Now, why is that? What is it about that? Well, they've got a manager who's come in. They've lost their top scorer. They've lost their best player from last season, and he's brought in a few nondescript players from here, there, and everywhere. And he's organised them. He's got them playing to a particular style. He's got them playing with some heart, with some fun. And please, please, please do not come back at me with this comment that, yes, of course they do because it's Rangers. Because I'll tell you something, go and watch the second half against Celtic, because they fought and they battled just as hard in that game. So please don't come back at me. They don't try against anyone else, because they did. They did against Celtic second half. So look, what's the difference? Well, the big difference, like I said, is that their managers come in. He's organised them. He's got them playing to a style, a shape, a formation. He's got them battling. He's got them fighting. He's got them doing what we need a team to do, what any good coach gets a team to do. Clement hasn't done that. Now, Clement can sit in press conferences and he can sit in media availabilities and interviews and whatever he wants, and he can talk up and down about it takes time, it takes time, it takes time, it takes time, it takes time. Well, you look at that team that he selected tonight. Okay, look at that team that he picked tonight. And I'll tell you something about our team he picked tonight, okay? Jack Butland was here last season. James Tavernier was here last season. John Suter was here last season. Liam Balogun was here last season. Nicholas Raskin was here last season. Tom Lawrence was here last season. Ross McCausland was here last season. And Cyril Dessers was here last season. 8 out of 11 players were here last season. So the excuse that they need time to gel, time to work together, time to come together is utter pish. Because 8 out of that 11 were here last season. Now, what does it say for the recruitment then? Well, Proper, Diamonde, Hiefte, Igaman, all on the bench. All new signings, all deemed not good enough to start. Probably the biggest game of the year so far. What does that say about them? What does that say about Proper? What does that say about Igaman? What does that say about the confidence the manager's got in them? What does it say about them? You know, this is a question that needs to be asked of Philippe Clement. If these are your players, Philippe, why are you not trusting them? Why do you not want to use them? You know, the excuses he's come out with, it's the same excuses time after time after time after time. And you sit and you listen to his interviews, his post-match interviews, his pre-match interviews, and it's the same crap week in, week out. And he can sit there and he can talk about moral victories. He can talk about we had more shots, more possession, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, Philippe, when the league finishes and all the games have been played, you know what doesn't count? The amount of possession you've had in games, the amount of chances you've had in games. Okay, that doesn't count. What counts is the number of wins, the number of points, and the number of goals you've scored. That's what counts. Okay, and you can sit at the end of the season, finish third or fourth, and say, well, yes, but we outplayed the top of the league team 3 times out of 4. We had X percentage more possession across all the games, and we had X amount of chances, a better XG in all these games. And then, I'm sorry, it counts for nothing, mate. It counts for absolutely nothing, because points and goals are what counts. This Rangers team that we've got out here today, I mean, let's have a quick look at today's team. Today's team was woeful. It was a shocking selection. Jack Butland in goal, fair enough. Okay, yes, he's got his critics, but he's still probably the best goalkeeper at the club. James Tavernier, I don't understand. I genuinely don't get why this spineless, gutless individual continually gets played for Rangers. And I'm sorry, and I know some people are not going to like me saying this, but he is spineless. He is gutless. He hides. He's gone on too long. He's finished. He is done. He is dusted, but he will start on Sunday against Motherwell in the semi-final. Why? Because Clement will still be here, and he's obsessed with him. Or he's scared of him. I don't know what it is. Suter is probably Suter and Balogun probably our best 2 centre-halves at this moment in time, okay? Are they good enough? Who knows? I would argue, yes, they are, if they're coached right, organised right, and given some fullbacks alongside them to actually play football and not being pulled out of position constantly to cover for the shitness on the right-hand side. Castanwejo is not a left back. He is just not a left back, okay? And yet we've got Robbie Fraser, we've got Hjefte. Hjefte's been one of the best players this season. Why would you drop him for one of the biggest games of the season so far? If it's to get Castanwejo in because he's done well in the last game, get rid of Tav. Tav is the weak link there, not Hjefte. Tav is the weak link. In a team that had no pace to get up the pitch, why put your quickest player on the bench and take him out of the team? Don't understand it. Barron and Raskan, look, pass marks for Raskan. Yeah. So I'm not going to criticise Raskan and Barron too much. I'm not going to criticise their selection either, because they've probably been 2 of our better players over recent weeks. Tom Lawrence, look, Tom has got the odd vital goal in the last couple of games, but when it comes to really big games, when it comes to actually influencing, and which is what the 10 should do in these really big games, Tom Lawrence has never done it. He's never done it in the Old Firm games. He's never done it against Aberdeen particularly. And today he was just dreadful. McCausland, look, I love Ross. I love him to bits. I think he's great against Livy, against St Johnstone, against Dundee, against Hibs, but not in these games. Not for the start. Bayrami, yes, wonderful goal, brilliant goal, but he's been played out of position. And Dessers was just genuinely probably Aberdeen's best player. The way he started their counter-attacks off for them, he was absolute dross today. He was an empty shirt. He was a waste of space. He was genuinely should have been hooked after 15, 20 minutes. He was that bad. He's one of the worst footballers I have ever seen play the game. The guy is an absolute clown. The lineup was just awful. It was awful for a minute from the first time it was in. From the first reading of it, I was just despairing. I mean, it was genuinely shit. And it's Clement's team. That's his team. He picked it. Now, the thing for me about the manager is, and people say, well, you can't keep sacking managers. I'm sorry, well, you can keep sacking managers if you get the wrong manager. If you get someone who isn't fit to do the job, just because the person before wasn't fit to do the job, and the person before that wasn't fit to do the job, you don't keep them because, oh, shit, I can't sack anybody else because, oh, my God, it's going to cost me money. And, oh, my God, how silly am I going to look? That's not what you're doing. You have to take that decision. And he's got to go. He has got to go. Not only are we 9 points behind Celtic and the league's done. Celtic have won the league. Right? Celtic, you might as well give them the trophy now. Congratulations, Celtic. You've won, the trophy. You're now the most successful club in Scotland. Congratulations. Well done. We won't win anything this season, guarantee. But Aberdeen are ahead of us. They're 9 points ahead of us. And although everyone professing that Aberdeen will fall apart and collapse, I don't see it at the moment. I genuinely don't see it at the moment, unless Jimmy Phelan's taken off them by some other team around Europe or down south or something like that. So look, I think we're in a real battle to finish second this season. Now, people say, oh, we can't afford to sack Philippe Clement. Well, I'm sorry, we can, because finishing third is even worse and we'll lose even more money. And can we afford to lose more money when we lost 17 million this year? Certainly not. Certainly not. Clement, to me, has lost the dressing room. The players don't look interested. The players don't look like they give a shit anymore. He's lost the fans. The vast majority of the fans listening and watching other podcasts, and I watch Rabble tonight, Journal tonight, a bit of Rangers Review. He's lost the fans. The fans are gone. The fans have just turned. Okay, there's a small minority that'll be still backing, because you can't sack a manager. You can when he's crap. You don't keep someone in a job when they can't do that job just because, like I said, you sacked the person before them. Okay, because it isn't working. It isn't working. And the things about Clement that are so frustrating for me now is, and I've backed him. Go back and watch the videos. You can see that I've backed him. Okay, I've tried to stay that way, but it's hard because he is that bad. His tactics are awful. His formation doesn't work. It doesn't work with the players we've got. Tactical inflexibility, formation inflexibility. You may have a formation you like to play, okay? As a coach, as a manager, I've coached, okay, not at a high level, but I have coached. Okay, and I like playing 4-4-2 and 4-3-3, right? But if I didn't have the players to suit that formation, I didn't play that formation because I knew the players I had couldn't do what I was about to ask them to do. So therefore I changed it. Okay. If I went into a game where the opposition was stronger than me and I knew that I couldn't outplay them, I would do everything I could to stop them from playing. So I'd play 4-5-1 or 5-4-1 or some combination of to stop them and try and hit them on the break, because I knew I didn't have the talent to overcome them by playing them. Clement doesn't seem to understand that. He seems to see, this is my formation, I will stick to it no matter what, and my plan A is to play 4-2-3-1. If plan A doesn't work, what I'll do is I'll put someone else in the position and hope that that works. So plan B is to do plan A, but with different people. That's not plan B. That's plan A1, A2. His substitutions don't affect the game. His in-game management is awful. The players, there's no team style. They are awful watch. They are a rotten football team. They are a boring football team. They are just a genuinely dreadful team to watch. You know, and Boydie was right. He said the same. You know, and I hate to agree with Chris Sutton, but Chris Sutton said they were a rotten watch, and I hate to agree with Chris Sutton, but he's actually right on this occasion. The manager is done. He is done. Do I expect him to be sacked? No. I don't expect him to be sacked for two reasons. One, because there's no one to do it, because there's no CEO still after 6 months. There's no chairman still after 10, 11 weeks. There's no director of football. There's none of those positions have been filled. We've got no one at the top. There's literally no one there. Okay. So I don't expect him to be sacked for that reason. And number two, I genuinely think the board are following through on this John Bennett statement of we can't rinse, repeat, we can't sack. They've invested too heavily in him. 4 years, giving him freedom to do what he wants, etc., etc. So I think we're stuck with him to the season's end. If we are, it's going to be a long, hard season. I don't think we'll finish second. I think we'll finish third or fourth this season, because we're that bad. We won't win any trophies. Celtic will win all the trophies. Celtic will win a treble and be the most successful team in football and overtake us eventually, I think, you know, with league titles as well. And it's just not good enough. It is not good enough. It is a shambles, an absolute shambles. And I would love somebody to please come on and give me an argument for keeping him. Give me an argument for keeping him. Because you can say all you want about he hasn't got all his players in yet, but what are you seeing that's showing you progress in what he's doing? Has the team got better? No. Can you see a style? No. Can you see a tactical flexibility there? No. Can you see a shape that works in Scotland? No. Can you see an intensity to his play? No. That's what you've got to test the coach by. And look, we're giving 2 more transfer windows. So what? We end up wasting, we haven't got a lot of money. Okay, so we go end up wasting, say, another 10 million on players. Do you think if we spend another 10, 15 million pound on players, that this team is going to be any better? that this team is suddenly going to become an all-conquering, all-challenging opposition to Celtic. It's not. It's not going to happen. And if your argument is we can't keep sacking managers because we just can't keep sacking managers because we can't afford, that's not an excuse. That is a poor excuse, because we finished third. It's going to cost us a hell of a lot more money than it's going to cost sacking him, because we ain't going to get into Champions League or Champions League qualifiers. You know, it's about the fundamentals. It's about what we need to do to move this club forward. He cannot move this club forward. Monaco fans warned us of this. Stubbornness, tactical inflexibility, boring football. We were warned about some of these things by Monaco fans, and we thought we knew better. I admit I was as guilty as anyone of that. But this manager has got to go, and he's got to go today. And I agree fully with what David Edgar said on the Heart and Hand post match after the game. He said, we don't appoint anybody permanently. We give somebody this job on an interim basis, and then we look in the summer, because appointing someone now is ridiculous, because you'll get that new manager bound. Suddenly he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's going to turn everything around. He's going to be amazing. And at the end of the season, it all kind of falls away again, and we come to summer and we get caught in this cycle again. So what we do is we go and get someone on a temporary basis till the end of the season. Now, whether that is Stephen Davis or Kevin Thompson or Barry Ferguson, or I don't know, someone like that until the end of the season. And then the end of the season, when we've got a new CEO, we've got a new chairman, we've got a new director of football, we sit down as a club and we decide on what is the best way forward. And we make an appointment then, when there is clearness of mind, there is no pressure of time, because we've got a game next week, we've got a semi-final, we've got an Old Firm game, whatever. Okay, we're not taking that decision under time pressure. We're taking a decision with a cool, calm heads of season's over, what's available, who's available, okay, who do we want, what compensation do we have to pay, etc., if that's the case. That's what we need to do. Not rush into a decision and say, right, let's get Kevin Muscat. Let's go down south and get Alex Neil or David Moyes or someone like that. Okay, that's not what we need to do. Okay, we need, I think, someone temporary till the end of the season, and then we make the decision at the end of the season who the next man is to take this club forward, so we can make a proper appointment. Guys, look, I'd love to be able to talk to you about something positive, something on the up, but this club is in financial dire straits. It is not only in financial dire straits, but it is also in dire straits on the park as well. At the moment, it feels like we're shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. It really does. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your feelings. I'll speak to you again very soon here on the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Smash a sub, smash a like, do a share, comment. But remember, we're one Rangers family, and we are the people.